Hey, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Drew, aka Booty Sweat, and with the recent announcement of DNF Duel, that is the fighting game based on Dragon Fighter Online, I started playing DFO and have been steadily enjoying it more and more, and as I enjoy it and enjoy playing different classes, I'm getting more hyped for DNF Duel. So today I thought I would do a video about what characters I would like to be in DNF Duel based on my gameplay so far in DFO. So there are 5 characters already confirmed to be in the game. That is the Berserker, the Grappler, the Striker, the Inquisitor, and the Ranger, all of which can be seen in the trailer. But in addition, I think it would be cool if we could get at least a 15 character roster at launch. Now that may be a little bit optimistic, seeing as how we got only 11 characters during the launch of Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, but maybe for the highest grossing MMO of all time, we might be able to get a solid 15-person roster. So these are my additional top 10 picks for characters I would like to see in DNF Duel. So yeah, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you like and subscribe, stick around, and please leave a comment down below on a character that you would like to see in DNF Duel. All right, let's get into the list. Before we get into the main list, I wanted to give a quick honorable mention to the Nen Master. I think the Nen Master would be really cool as an option if you wanted to have like a key using Shoto style character. They have a lot of cool key attacks in the game. However, it seems really unlikely to me that we're going to get a third fighter variant. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I think the Nen Master would be a really cool option. But yeah, I'm just going to stick that as an honorable mention based on the fact that we already have 2 fighter classes in the initial roster already. So yeah, it kind of might be a stretch to say we would get a third. Now for the actual number 1 in this list, this is the character that I'm having the most fun playing right now in DFO, and it's actually the gameplay that you see on the screen during this list, and that is the Launcher, specifically the Demolitionist. This would be a super cool character to be in this game. You would talk about a strong ranged character, guns, and more guns. We're talking flamethrowers, Gatling guns, laser rifles, plasma cannons, throwing grenades, doing all kinds of cool stuff, calling in an atomic bomb maybe as a super. All this kind of stuff that the character can do in DFO is really sick. I think that the Launcher is an excellent candidate for a zoning type character in DNF Duel. For the next spot on the list, I want to bring up another gunner variant, and that is the Mechanic. Now, a cool thing that the Mechanic does in DFO is brings out little robots and little summons and things like that to fight for her on screen. And so I think that would be a really cool option for a fighting game. There's an archetype of fighter called a puppet character or a summon character. These are often, you know, kind of like zoning characters that have the ability to get good pressure because they have other little characters on screen fighting for them. The Mechanic could fit this archetype really well, putting down her little robots that would fight for her, zone them, attack them so she could get additional pressure or keep away. Now, this isn't the only character in DFO that does this. I also think a good candidate for this kind of style of archetype for this game would be the Chaos Knight or the Enchantress. They also kind of fit the same role in terms of that cool summon character, kind of puppet character style thing. But my favorite of the 3 is personally the Mechanic, so that would be my pick. But again, I think Chaos Knight or Enchantress would also fit. Next up on the list, I have the Skirmisher. Now, not only does this guy look really cool, but he also uses a lance, and so he could kind of act as a mid-range character, good space control, good pokes, different things like that. Not really a super heavy rushdown and not really a zoner either, more just kind of keeping his opponent at the distance that he wants them to be at, frustrating them. Think of like Chun-Li in Street Fighter V maybe. She has really long buttons, really good pokes, things that will kind of frustrate an opponent who wants to get in on her, and she has good counter zoning as well. The Skirmisher would kind of fit that sort of role, where he would kind of make the opponent play the game that he wanted them to play, keep them at the distance he wanted them at, and really harass them and slowly get that life melted away. I think that would be a really cool option for the roster. Next up, we have the Dragon Knight. Now, I think this would be a really cool character that could maybe be super rushed down, do lots and lots of damage, have good mix-ups, but also, like in DFO itself, you could give her a decent aerial game. So she plays really well in the air in DFO. You could give her all kinds of cool mix-ups, high-low mix-ups, jump-in mix-ups, good cross-ups, different things like that that could take advantage of that sort of gameplay style of Rushdown. But, you know, maybe you could even go a little further and sort of imitate the way some other fighting games do things, which is maybe give her a little bit lower health, but give her more damage and mix-up abilities. So that would be an interesting archetype, a nice Rushdown mix-up heavy character with less health, but that does crazy good damage. Think along the lines of Chip from Guilty Gear or Cammy or Akuma from Street Fighter. Next up, we have the Monk. Now, the Monk is a really sick class in DFO. He has a really strong combo game. He does kind of these boxing moves and all kinds of stuff like that. Perfect example of somebody that could be a good character in DNF Duel. You could make him have a strong up-close game, good damage. You know, if they wanted to, maybe they could make him a little bit on the slower side to compensate for his good damage and his strong up-close game. Or, you know, maybe not. Maybe he's a heavy Rushdown character similar to, you know, other games where they have these big damage, big mix-up heavy and Rushdown characters. Kind of like what we talked about with the Dragon Knight, that sort of thing. Either way, just his aesthetic and his types of moves and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know how you can just not put the Monk in this game. He has to be in it. I mean, if he's not in it at launch, they're definitely going to do him as DLC, I feel like. So, yeah, I'd be excited to see him for sure. Next on the list, I have the Secret Agent. Now, the Secret Agent just looks so sick. I mean, you look at him and you're like, yeah, he definitely should be in. He looks like he has the ability in DFO. I haven't played him in DFO, so but he has lots of like guns and other kinds of stuff. So he could be a candidate for another kind of zoning character, maybe. But maybe you could also switch him up from a traditional zoner by also giving him some good up-close tools as well. Maybe make him a nice all-around character with good range, but also some good up-close tools to get the pressure off of him in a pinch, while, you know, kind of enforcing his offense on the opponent when he's able to. So yeah, Secret Agent looks really cool. He'd be cool to be in. Next up, I have the Dark Templar. Now, this is a pretty interesting character type in fighting games, which would be kind of a debuffing style character. Maybe lots of damage over time moves, kind of melt the health bar a bit by keeping at bay, but keeping that damage over time going, and really debuffing the opponent in terms of making you could make their attack lower, or you know, do all kinds of stuff like that. And so just a really cool type of like archetype for fighting games is the debuff style character. They are usually pretty skill heavy. So the Dark Templar could be maybe like a higher skill level character that has really good payoff, but isn't particularly easy to use. So that way you could have a nice like high skill ceiling in the game with some characters that are maybe more complicated to use, but still are really strong if you know how to use them. And I think the Dark Templar could be an example of that. Alright, now next up, I wanted to include another interesting archetype in fighting games, and that is a trap or set play character. And for that, I think we would go with the Elemental Bomber. It would be really cool to have a character like this that could lay like elemental explosive traps and mines and things like that on the screen. That would give him good pressure, good okizeme, which means when the opponent is on the ground, he's able to pressure them on their wake up by laying down traps or setting up all of this different kind of stuff, setting up bombs and things like that. It would just be a really neat type of character to include in the game. Every fighting game usually has trap or set play characters, and I think the Elemental Bomber is really unique looking. It has a pretty unique moveset for DFO, so he would be interesting to include in the game as that sort of character. Next up, we have the Dark Knight. Now, the Dark Knight is really sick in DFO. I believe is a more difficult character to use, but there are big combos, high offense, more technical to use, but you could even include some certain things like maybe some OTG stuff. Maybe he could hit grounded opponents. Maybe he, again, you could give him maybe like lower health to make up for the huge combos and the high offense and the damage and things like that. But this character just looks really sick. I mean, kind of looks like a vampire or something, and just kind of also fits that edgelord aesthetic. Like every anime game has to have that super edgelordy character, right? So could fit that archetype in terms of character design, as well as being a really cool big combos, highly offensive character that maybe takes a little more skill to use, or not, you know, either way. But yeah, I think it would be a cool addition. Not really super my cup of tea in terms of design, but you gotta have somebody like this in an anime game. So I think the Dark Knight would be a pretty decent spot for the roster. And last but certainly not least, we have the Necromancer. Now the Necromancer is just aesthetically really cool. Turns from this lady into a massive killer Dark Knight. Valakar the Slaughterer, I believe is his name. And so you would have this character who appears on screen like a petite woman, but then when she attacks, you've got this huge suit of armor, this like possessed ghost. And I don't know if she transforms into him or if she's possessed by him or what the lore or the logistics of it are. All I know is on screen it looks really, really sick. And so that would be cool to see in a fighting game. You have this small character and almost like a stand or something, you know, like in the Persona games or whatever. She could have this thing come out and fight for her, or even just turn into it altogether and deal massive damage. Maybe make him on the slower side or whatever. You could even just have her at the beginning of the round or beginning of the match transform into him and then have Valakar the Slaughterer on the screen for the duration of the match. That would also be really cool. So either way, and if you were going to do that, obviously he's massive and does huge damage, so he'd be kind of slower, maybe a grappler or something like that. You know, so or even just, you know, big damage like a Samurai Showdown character or something. So yeah, I think that would be really cool as well. So that's going to be it for this video. I just kind of wanted to go over some of my picks that I've been thinking about, just kind of speculation, just kind of toying with ideas and you know, coming up with theories and things like that. Obviously, I don't know if any of this is ever going to come true. Some of these characters may be in and play completely different to how I suggested. Whatever. I just think these are some really cool ideas, and I would love to hear your ideas in the comments below. So make sure you drop down there, leave a comment on what characters you like to play in DFO that you think would be cool for the DFO fighting game DNF Duel. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Have a good one. Be blessed.